In January of this year, I traveled to Patagonia on EF Ultimate Break's Patagonia adventure. And today I'm going to go over the itinerary from start to finish. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Jackson and I make travel content about my experiences traveling the world. Subscribe down below to stay up to date with my content. I choose to travel with EF because it's just so easy. They take care of the itinerary, the accommodation, and transportation, so pretty much all I have to do is show up. So that just makes it so much easier for me and just go along with the flow. This is also probably a good time to say that I have a link down in my bio that will save you $100 off if this is your first time traveling with EF, and you can add this on top of any other sales that they are having on their site. So just hop into the itinerary. Coming in with day one, where it's just an overnight flight into Santiago, Chile. So day two, when you actually arrive, you meet up with your tour guide and some of the members of your group, and then you take some transportation into the city center where you have a free day. And this free day we took advantage and went to the Gran Torre Costanera, which is one of the tallest buildings in Chile. This was one of the nicest spots, and then we went to our welcome dinner, had some piso sours, and just kind of relaxed. So day three, we then took a flight down to Punta Arenas, which is the farthest south city in the world, and we then got to do another walking tour, hang out, and we went to a casino this day, I believe. The next day, day four, we were traveling again. So the beginning of this trip is very travel heavy, so you get to place, but that's going to be normal for anything when you're going to Patagonia. Travel between places is a lot. So this was about a 3-hour bus ride to get to Puerto Natales, and once we got there, we had the rest of the day to ourselves. Due to all this travel, me and a couple of people on the trip rented some bikes and went on a bike ride. One of the people found a viewpoint that we could bike to that said 10 miles. So it ended up being a 20-mile bike ride through dirt roads that had hills. So it was pretty difficult, but don't get me wrong, it was well worth it and I would do it again. And this was just something we did, and it wasn't part of the tour, it was just some free time that we had. That pretty much took most of the day. So day five was going into Torres del Paine. But before we got into Torres del Paine, we went into the Cueva de Medellin caves, which were the ancient sloths caves, which was really cool, and the cave was massive. After that, we got back on the bus and went into the national park. In the Torres del Paine National Park, there are tons of spots. There were tons of viewpoints that we could get out and look at, and we were able to see the granite towers, see a waterfall, and the bus took us to different locations. We would get out, take pictures, and look around and see things. After we left the park and we went to Glacier Lake, or Lake Pijo, and it was like where you could walk through this little strip and see some icebergs in the lake and get a closer view of the mountains. And we had an included lunch with this. That was nice. And then we were able to go back to the town and kind of just winded down that day. Day six, we were traveling to Argentina. This was where we would go to the border crossing, and the border crossing was pretty easy. We were one of the first buses there, so we were the first people to get our passports stamped, so we were able to get across no problem. And then we made it to El Calafate after about a three-hour drive. And then in Calafate, we just kind of walked around this town and went to a couple bars, got some food. Every place that we went to, the food was unbelievable. Steaks, seafood, lamb, everything was really good. Day seven was the day that we were going to the El Perito Moreno Glacier. And this was another hour-and-a-half, 2-hour drive to get there. Once we got there, we did about an hour to 2-hour hike around the outside, like facing the glacier, and we would go to some points where we were able to look at the glacier. It was crazy how close you were able to get and how long this glacier was. There were a a lot of pieces of the glacier that were falling into the water, and we were able to see an iceberg turnover, which they said is not often the case. Unfortunately, I didn't get it on video because it just happened so quick. After we did the walking, we took a boat, got to see the glacier on the boat, and then that boat brought us to the other side where we were able to actually go and hike on the glacier, which was really, really cool. The weather was really good for us when we were hiking, and you were able to like hike up and through the glacier, which was really, really cool. And at the end, we got whiskey to drink with glacier ice, which is something I thought I would never say, and it was really awesome. And then on our ride back, all of us passed out just because it was such a long day. So then we got back to the town and just kind of relaxed that day. Day 8, we traveled to El Chalten, which was this beautiful town in between all these mountains. And once we got there, we kind of had a free day, so me and a couple people walked to a waterfall that was nearby. We're able to just hang out there while some other people in our group did horseback riding, and then some others did some whitewater rafting. But there's a ton of things to do there, and you really couldn't go wrong because everything looked amazing. So we just hung out there for the rest of that day. And then day 9 was the big hike. So we woke up pretty early and we were doing the Mount Fitzroy hike. This was one of the best hikes I've ever done. It says it was about a 12-mile hike, but we kind of looked on our watches and it ended up being a 17-mile hike. From the start, it wasn't too difficult. It was a little bit of an incline the whole way up, but the last mile or so was direct straight up like that, so that's something to be aware of. But everybody in our group was able to do it no problem, so just take your time, follow the guide, and you'll be fine. So once you get to the top, it was pretty packed, but our guide brought us to a spot where there wasn't anybody, so we actually had pretty good unobstructed views, which was something that you really couldn't get if you were down by the lakes. We were able to take pictures, eat lunch. We were up there for about hour and a half, which was really nice. So we just got to soak in the views, and we had really good weather, which is usually not the case. So we had almost clear skies the whole time. And then we hiked back down to the town again, and after this we were pretty exhausted, so we relaxed for the rest of that day. Day 10, we took a bus to the airport, and then we flew to Buenos Aires. Once we made it to Buenos Aires, we had the time to just kind of relax, free time, and walk around. Buenos Aires is a very, very nice city. It has very good nightlife, and we took some Ubers around and everything. It felt safe because we were in a big group. There was no problems there. We also had our farewell dinner that night. The next day we would only be in Buenos Aires till about 4, and then we would head out to the airport. So that would lead us into day 11, where we would do a walk with a city tour with our guide, and we were able to see more of the city and the main points of the city, which was really cool. And then took our transports to the airport and then headed home. Overall, this trip had a lot of travel in it, but that's to be expected. The views and the nature, it was just unparalleled to anything I've ever done. You would just go from forest to a glacier to mountains, just like that. Or when we're driving, you would just be in the middle of nowhere and it would be like a desert. So just the differences in the areas where we go to and just how vast the land is, it was just probably one of the most unique places that I've ever been to.